This is my prediction video for the Anthony Joshua versus Dominic Breazeale fight. Now, Dominic is ranked number 21 in the world by BoxRec. He's got an 88% KO rate. His record is 17 wins, 0 losses, 15 knockouts. Very tall guy, 6'7", same height as Gary Cornish, but an inch taller than Anthony Joshua. He's got an 81.5-inch reach, so pretty much the same as Anthony Joshua, not much in it, just half an inch shorter. Though that is a slight advantage to Joshua, when you're looking at the height and the reach added together, they're pretty much the same kind of size. He's a little bit heavier than Joshua at 252 pounds, but when you look at his body, not that it matters too much. He's got less muscle, but that's clear, and he's definitely carries a far higher percentage of body fat than Joshua. So I think Joshua would be the stronger if they ever do get into a clinch. He's never fought a really tall, rangy fighter like Joshua before. He's inexperienced fighting guys like Joshua. He's never even fought a tall fighter before in his professional career. So that's a really serious point worth noting. The average height of Dominic Breazeale's opponents is 6'1". That's the average height. You've been fighting guys that are like 5'9". He's fought a few guys under 6 foot, and the average height is of the opponents he's been fighting is 6'1". That's a massive difference between the kind of opponents that Joshua's been facing. The tallest opponent that Dominic Breazeale has actually fought is 6'4", and he has fought one power puncher during his career, one serious kind of power puncher during his career. He had a 88% knockout rate at the time, and that's Yasmi Consurga. But he's only ranked 190th in the world at the time, and he's a lot shorter than Anthony Joshua. Doesn't have the reach of Anthony Joshua, and since he lost to Breazeale, he's lost all his fights since. He's fought twice since. One of them was against Artur Szpilka, and he lost them both. So Dominic's best three opponents are Amir Mansour. He fought him. Amir Mansour's ranked 46th in the world right now, and Mansour was winning every single round, and even knocked down, even knocked down Dominic during that fight as well. And it wasn't just a flash knockdown. He got hit by a good solid blow and he went down. And when he got back up, he was still hurt. He still needed to recover from it. So he can be hurt. He's not got a really solid chin. And just like I said, he's never fought a guy that punches as hard as Anthony Joshua yet, or is as aggressive and has the height and reach of Anthony Joshua yet. He's also fought Fred Cassie, and that was a very competitive fight. They looked about the same kind of level when they fought each other. Fred Cassie's ranked number 97th in the world right now. He's got a record of 18 wins, 5 losses and a draw. And there's another guy, Nagy, that's another guy that's in the top 50, 41st in the world. But he's only got a bummy record of 20 wins, 9 losses. So the opponents anyway, Anthony Joshua does look to have beat the far better opponents so far, and beat them far more impressively, I need to add. So he's been knocked down before, and he has been losing a fight before. If Amir Mansour never pretty much bit half his tongue off, he would have went on to win that fight. He might even have went on to stop Breazeale. So another thing just worth noting, just another fact to get out of there. Even though Breazeale's not been fighting the better opponents, he's lost more rounds than Joshua. He's lost 7 rounds so far during his career. Anthony Joshua, pretty much everyone listening to this video is going to know about him right now anyway. He's number 7 in the world right now. He's got 100% knockout rate, 6'6", 82-inch reach, 245 pounds. He is lighter than Breazeale. He is a little bit shorter than Breazeale, but he's got a half-inch reach advantage over Breazeale, so not much in it. He has fought a taller, rangy guy, just like Breazeale, he's fought Gary Cornish. Gary Cornish was about the same weight, same height, might have actually had a bit more reach on Dominic. And not Dylan, sorry. Joshua has fought a big power puncher before. He's fought Dillian Whyte, and yeah, maybe some people might doubt how much of a power puncher Dillian is, because he's still kind of at the novice stage of his career. But he does appear to be a really big puncher right now. He did rock Joshua a little bit in the fight. Joshua recovered from it well. Joshua's best opponents he's fought so far is the very experienced Kevin Johnson. First person to ever stop Kevin Johnson. Stopped him in the second round. It should have really been the first. A lot of people were surprised the referee didn't call it off in the first round. Kevin Johnson's got a record of 29 wins, 7 losses, and a draw. Other opponents, obviously Dillian Whyte there. He fought Dillian Whyte when Dillian Whyte was undefeated. It was a very tough, entertaining fight. I think it was the most entertaining fight of last year. Dillian Whyte now has a record of 16 wins, 1 loss. He's been off with a shoulder injury. He's going to be coming back and trying to get another shot at Anthony Joshua again, because he truly does believe he can beat him. Charles Martin, he's got a record of 23 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw now. Charles Martin, I do think Dominic is going to fight a far better fight than Charles Martin. I think he is a better fighter in some ways, and in other ways Charles Martin is a bit better than him. I think Charles Martin's faster than him, for example. But the one thing you've got to give Dominic is, at least we know Dominic's been hit and he's been down during his professional career. Martin had never been before. We didn't know how Martin was going to perform after he got knocked down against Joshua. At least we know how Dominic will deal with it. He does get up. He does try and recover. He does cover up properly. He does try and eventually fight back. He doesn't just give up. Charles Martin, he got up the first time, granted. You've got to give him some credit for that, a little anyway. But the second time, it was one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen in boxing. He got knocked down. He smiled. He clearly wasn't hurt, and he got up at a time when he knew he was going to get counted out. He quit. He quit in the second round, and it wasn't good for Joshua. And I think it's ruined Charles Martin's career. I mean, I really don't want to see him ever fight again. Now, Joshua, he's never been knocked down before. He was hit by a good punch by Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte did try and load up after that, and he just couldn't penetrate Joshua much. I mean, Joshua does have quite good defensive skill. I do have to give him that. And he managed to recover, come back, and beat Dillian. So you've got to give Joshua credit. Never been knocked down, just like I said. He's lost 1 round during his career. So that just shows you, Dominic's lost 7 rounds. Joshua's only lost 1. Some people might argue he lost 2. He might have lost the second and the third round against Dillian Whyte. But that's arguable. I do know he lost the second round. So when you're considering Joshua and Dominic, Joshua's been fighting the better guys, and he's actually fought an experienced heavyweight as well. And Joshua's only lost a single round. Dominic's been fighting poorer opposition, and he's lost 7 rounds out of his career so far. So now I just got to get on to Breazeale. I've been watching quite a few of his fights, and yeah, he is slow. He pauses with his jabs. He can get countered easily by Joshua. Joshua is much faster with his hands. Dominic gets hit easy enough. He gets hit by these smaller fighters, just like I'm saying, because a lot of these guys he is fighting are smaller. So he's not very good at using his height to stay away from his opponents and working behind the jab. If he was, he wouldn't be getting caught all these times by these smaller opponents. He'd be dominating them. He wouldn't be losing 7 rounds at this point of his career, fighting guys that they're not rubbish. He's fought, 3 good, decent heavyweights in the top 100. But he should be performing a lot better if he's going to go quite far in his career. His footwork's kind of plodding. He is slow on his feet. I mean, everything that Dominic does. Anthony Joshua does far better. Joshua, even though Dominic does punch hard, I would say he's got a good punch when he can land, and he's going to struggle to land on Joshua because his defense is so tight, and he can move so much better than him. He can stay out of range and get back into range, and he can counter him quite easily. I think Joshua just punches harder, better defense, better footwork. He's just an all-round better fighter than Dominic. Now, the one thing we really don't know is just how durable Dominic is going to be in this fight, because that's what's going to determine how long this fight actually goes, I think. Because I see Dominic getting hit a lot in this fight. I think the first fight might be a bit slow, they might be a bit wary of each other, just like they were in the Charles Martin fight. I'm sure everyone remembers the Charles Martin fight. There was not very many punches thrown in the first round. There were two big guys in there, and they were being a bit cautious. They were just trying to see what the other boxer throws at them and how they're going to counteract it. And then Joshua obviously got the upper hand in that and managed to counter him very well in the second round. So when Dominic does go down in the second round, I think it's just going to be about how durable he is. I mean, I really do believe he's got a lot more heart than Charles Martin, and I believe he's got a lot more determination than Charles Martin. And I'm not just saying that because of the face-off they had. The face-offs mean nothing. What people say means nothing. Actions are the only thing that matter. And he has been knocked down before by Mansour in a fight he was losing, and he got up and he kept trying to fight on, and it paid off. So, yeah, I do expect Dominic to get outboxed. I expect Dominic to get hit, get knocked down. It's just going to be a matter of how durable Dominic is. So it's kind of hard to pick what round exactly, but I think Joshua will stop Dominic within 4 rounds. So that's my prediction. That's what I think of this fight.